all this time, you've been letting the Yetzer Hara influence your opinion to the point where the Yetzer Hara has become your opinion. So now when something different happens, say, hey, Hashem, why'd you do that to me? Thinking that you were right the whole time. Look, Hashem, I was smoking at 3 o'clock in the morning. For you, it was a mitzvah. I was learning Torah. Why'd you give me cancer? Why'd you give me this? Why'd you give me that? What do you mean? Who told you to smoke? Who told you to not to smoke? So what was the ultimate decision? The ultimate decision is that I realized that, okay, the Yetzer Hara is full of it. And, which means I'm full of it. So I have to find a way to quit. Not because I want to quit. I like smoking. But because it's not Ritzon Hashem. It's not the will of Hashem. Hashem didn't put me into this world to smoke. To be a smoker. It's not the will of Hashem. And I started thinking to myself, okay, wait a minute. So what do I do with my hands? What do I do with my hands? Like, how do people live without smoking cigarettes? Like, I got to a point, after 20 years of smoking, I didn't understand how anybody stands outside and does nothing. Like, what do you do? Like, why are you just sitting there? What's wrong with you? Like, why don't you have something in your hand? Like, to me, my smoking became normal. Their standing there is not normal. Like, it can't be that they're right. Of course I'm right. You know, you never think anybody else is right. Everyone thinks they're right. Why are you just standing there? You're so weird. And I'm thinking to myself, smoking a cigarette, thinking it's normal. So that was one thing. And then the other one was like, okay, so then I'm probably going to eat too much. Then I'm going to gain weight. So that was another Yetzer Hara. And you just add more and more and more things. How I'm going to study? How I'm going to stay up? And then I started seeing myself. I tried quitting. I started seeing myself fall asleep. Like, see, Hashem? Told you it keeps me up at night. And you go back and you fight yourself and you fight yourself. But eventually you have to get to a point and say, listen, this is not Ritzon Hashem. And when did I finally realize it? I got to a point where I wouldn't smoke next to people. And the reason why is because one time I did a shiur, early on, and a couple of my students went outside. It was in my house. A couple of my students went outside. They were all smoking cigarettes. So, okay, so I'll go outside. I'll smoke a cigarette with them. I didn't think it was a big deal. They're smoking. Well, they're looking at me smoking. They're smokers. Like, it wasn't even a thought in my mind there's anything wrong with this. So I lit up a cigarette, and they were looking at me like, oh, you smoke? I said, yeah, why? It's like, oh. That's it. That's all I said. Oh. And immediately I knew that their level of respect, not just for me, but for everything I just said, has dropped drastically. Why? Because I'm just like them. We officially became the same level. Doesn't matter that I just spoke for 2 hours, taught you Torah, I told you what Leshon Hashem is, I told you Emunah, it doesn't make a difference. You and me are the same. You smoke, I smoke. And this was, what reminded me of this is when I used to see fakers that wear a costume that looks like Hasidut. They wear the big hat, or they wear any type of hat, and they look like religious people. And I would see them in the casinos and different places, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not religious, that's why I'm not here. What are you doing here? So then it gave me a visual of Judaism as like it's fake. If you're here and I'm here, I prefer my life to yours. So that simple cigarette, that simple tiny nail that I let the Yetzer Hara in, like, hey, listen, they're smoking, I'll smoke, what's the big deal? Immediately destroyed the Torah that I taught them. And became Chilul Hashem. So then I knew, this has to be the last cigarette. I can never do this again. And that's when I had to quit. But again, it's not easy. I didn't actually want to do it. But sometimes, you have to decide, is your will more important than Hashem's will? If the answer is even remotely yes, you have a lot of work to do. And that's when you have to eliminate your opinion. You have to eliminate it as much as possible until it becomes synonymous with Hashem's opinion. That's what real tshuva is.